Yo, yo. Yo, yo. What's up, everybody? Yo, yo. What's going on? What's going on? We got a good one today. We got a good conversation we're going to bring. Have my fellow therapist. He'll introduce himself when he get on here. But this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Listen, it's time for us to heal. It's time for us to heal. It's time for us to do more introspective work. Yes, we have partners. Yes, we want someone to build with, but there's a lot that needs to be controlled on our side of the fence, on our side of the street. There's a lot of things that we can control. There's a lot of things we can work on. Relationships are going to require you to continue to develop yourself. Just because you get married does not mean that you have arrived. You have to address together and by yourself. So let me go ahead and click him on in here. Let's see.
Yo, what's up, bro?
Let's go. Okay. How are you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
Man, I'm great. Listen, y'all. I'm going to stand right now. Jason is one of my favorite content creators and therapists out there. He's one of my
Man,
favorites.
I
I'm just gonna
appreciate you,
say it.
bro. I appreciate you.
So let everybody know who you are, what you do. Share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Bro. So before I get into it, because I want to make sure everybody can hear us, it seemed like when I joined, the sound started breaking up.
Uh-oh. Can y'all
I
hear?
hope it's.
Can you? I'm gonna do like they do on YouTube. Can you put a one in the chat if you can hear everybody clearly? Can someone put a one? Help us out.
Can y'all hear both of us?
I can hear
Uh,
you.
I can hear you too. So I'll go ahead. If I gotta do it again, I'll do it again. Okay, bet. Crystal got us. So I'm Jason Phillips, licensed therapist, confidence expert, college professor, and host of the Peace and Prosperity podcast. And I'm just as happy as you are, bro, to be here with my brother, man. So talking about confidence and all things related to it. Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
No, this is here's the thing, and I'm trying to be more intentional about this. Not taking
Mm-hmm.
these conversations that we get to have with each other and in front of the public for granted.
Yeah, that's true.
Bruh, in our field, in counseling, we're less than 1%. Black people are 2% of the field.
Yeah.
Being black and being male is less than that. Listen, my class had 54 people,
Uh-huh.
and only two of them were black, and one of them was a pastor who was up in age and just was going to school to try to learn some counseling skills. There was no
Yeah.
one that looked like us
Yeah.
out there doing it. So whenever we have these opportunities to get on here and share from our experience, our expertise, this is a big deal. This is a
It is,
big deal.
man. It is.
So
Yeah, likewise in my class, it's only like there's two males, me being one of them, and then there's one more black person, right? So we scarce. And even my wife was like, "Who you going live with?" I said, "My brother Joseph." She said, "Oh, it's not a lot of men that that you get a chance to interact with."
right, right. So this is
Let's-
going to be a great conversation. Thank you everybody for tuning in. But we're going to talk about confidence.
Yeah.
And when we talk about confidence, especially in the relationship space, everybody seems to always go to how you show up for the other person. It's are
Mm-hmm.
you confident when you approach somebody? Are you confident in the bedroom? Are you confident with the meals that you're prepping? Confidence always seems to be tied to how somebody else perceives us.
Yep.
But that may not be the best starting place. Thinking how someone else will perceive me as the foundation for my confidence, I don't think it's a good place to start. So,
Yeah.
so from Jason, from your perspective, when it comes to forming
healthy
Mm-hmm.
confidence. What does that look like? How do we do that?
Being sure of yourself. So I'm gonna break it down in three areas. So one, when you are very confident, like you have the self-confidence, one, you have self-awareness. So now you know how you show up. And that doesn't mean you show up perfectly, but you're aware of some of your insecurities, you're aware of your strengths. Because when you have self-awareness, now if somebody's pointing something out to you, you can say, okay, yep, I'm working on that, or I'm addressing that. You know, a lot of us we claim to be self-aware, but when we break it truly down, we're not as self-aware as we think we are. So that's the first step. Second, confidence is looking like practicing self-love. So not always taking care of everybody else, because you know we do a great job of taking care of other people, but not that great a job of taking care of ourselves. So we want to love ourselves the same way we give love to everybody else, and do it confidently and comfortably. And then the third piece is self-acceptance. So now we accept ourselves as a whole person. And the way you can look at that, are you loving yourself and embracing yourself, even the parts of you that you used to be ashamed of? And I'm gonna pause right there.
Mm, mm. That is really good and key points, especially that last one. Listen, being sure of yourself is important.
Yeah.
Important. And sometimes, and my fear is when I hear people, especially when they come in for counseling about confidence, it's so much is directed at what other people are thinking and feeling, and they're not so sure of themselves. And so we do this thing where we try to perform in a
Mm-hmm.
way that looks confident,
Yep.
that may check off the box of confident people do this, but on the inside you go home and you don't feel the same. You
Nope.
don't feel the same. And so I'm glad you said those 3 points. And we're not going to stay there because here's a direction. It just hit me right before
Mm-hmm.
we got on. People can learn how to be confident, but I don't know
Yeah.
too many people talk about the roadblocks that you may encounter on the journey of becoming confident. So I
Mm-hmm.
love to hike.
Yep.
At most of the major hiking trails, there is a map that shows you where certain areas of the trail may be a little overrun, where
Mm-hmm.
it may be a steep climb, where you may not need to go in that direction. They put that there so that when we start on the journey, we know what to expect and we can plan accordingly.
Got it.
So I found a couple of roadblocks that I think that we should be able to talk about today to help people navigate the journey of becoming confident. So here's the first one.
Yep.
The pitfall of self-comparison. Talk about
Yeah.
it
I'm
for a little bit.
I'm glad you went there, man, because what happens with that self comparison, we start looking at what other people are doing, and it's like, let's say we start off feeling like we're up here, we're equal, and I say, oh man, Joseph's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing. Oh, my boy Purvis is he's so now I'm looking at y'all and seeing all of y'all accomplishments, and I'm feeling like I'm not there. So how I feel about myself, it just decreases,
Mm,
and I get to a point where it's so low, the lack of confidence turns into anxiety. I'm overthinking things. My mood is impacted. So now I'm depressed because I'm looking at your life and I'm not embracing my own.
mm, mm. And that it's so easy to do now in the social media era.
Yeah.
We see everybody's highlights, but nobody's bloopers. We don't
Yeah.
see the gag reels. We don't see where they had to redo it
Mm-mm.
50, 111 times. But we see the finished and final product, which makes us be like, well, how come I didn't get it right on the first time?
Right. What's wrong
How
with me?
right. How come I didn't find love on the first date I went on?
Hmm.
Like, how come that didn't happen? And a lot of people, and I've even fell into that, comparing myself to other people, looking and not being too sure of myself, which brought down my confidence. So, when we're looking at this idea of self comparison, what do you think we can do to halt that?
What we gotta go back to the basics. Celebrate where we are, and remember, you measure your own
Mm,
success. So if I'm measuring my success to you or other people, I'm never gonna be you. I don't care how hard I work and how hard I try. When it comes to relationships, relationships. I'm never going to have the relationship that somebody else has because I'm not that person. So we have to just be honest with ourselves. Like, how am I comparing apples to apples? No, I'm comparing my situation, my life, and all that it entails to someone else. And the reality is, if
Mm-hmm.
I continue to do that, I will never feel like I am enough.
It's a never-ending cycle. It's a
Never.
never-ending cycle of working against yourself. Like it's
Hmm.
a never-ending cycle. So you have to be able to do something to break that up. So here's the next one. Pitfall number 2: setting realistic goals when trying to build your confidence. What are your thoughts on that pitfall?
We have to. So I'll give an example. I'm talking to somebody about getting their life on track. Young person getting into the workforce, and they're like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. And I'm like, well, how come? Well, because I made this decision last year, and I made that decision, and it's just overwhelming to me. I'm thinking, how am I gonna be 30, 40 years from now? So they're already self-sabotaging and having these limiting beliefs because the goal, let's say the goal is to be a millionaire, but let's first get you a job. Let's first, when we talk about being realistic, let's make it measurable, let's make it attainable. And we have to really be in tune with ourselves to ask ourselves, what is that realistic goal?
Mm-hmm.
Am I biting off a little bit more? Am I going too far? So right now, I don't know what your goal is for this live, but my goal is to be able to help one person with something that we say that could change how they feel about themselves. I'm not thinking about everybody who's going to be watching because I know I'm not for everybody. And when I
Mm-hmm.
have that type of poise and realistic goal about what we're doing, it helps manage me and I can show up as my whole self because I'm thinking about, this person. I'm not thinking about being there for everybody. So we have to be more realistic, more specific, and make sure that we are, actually being adaptive too, because sometimes we have a goal in mind, and it's like if I don't hit that goal by that time, I'm not enough. Something's wrong with me. Why am
Mm.
I missing the mark? Even in relationships, I want to be married with 3 kids. Okay, well, first you might want to start dating first before we look at having a 30, 40 year
Right.
marriage. Let's start dating.
Right. And the other part to that is we live in a society where we live on the extremes.
Hmm.
Nobody, people say, oh, you're thinking too small if your goal isn't this grandiose kind of thing. More so, if you have this really big goal, people are like, why are you going so high? You know, you're just going to fail and then you'll be upset. So when it comes to these realistic goal setting, it helps you set a pace, and it's the realistic part is what I want to emphasize. What is doable? What can be achieved? And that you mentioned self-awareness earlier.
Hmm.
We have to be self-aware where we're at, what our skill level is, what our emotional bandwidth is to even accomplish certain goals. I think we do ourselves a disservice by not being real with ourselves about what we can about what we can do and what we can
Yeah,
complete. And that
the
makes us
beginning.
feel worse.
In the beginning,
Yep.
I like to focus on the 3 C's. One, getting super clear. Where am I trying to go? So you got to have clarity. And somebody can put that one in the chat. You want to have clarity because now you're going to be able to get specific. Then
Mm-hmm.
once you build the clarity, now you can build the confidence to go out there and do it. But you want to be consistent. It doesn't matter if you got a big goal, a large goal. If you're not consistent, you're going to keep falling off the track, starting over. And that start stop phenomenon, that'll do a number on your confidence. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you. Yep. So first we gotta get clear, then we have to get confident, and then we have to be consistent.
Yeah, yeah.
Consistency
That's that.
over everything.
Mm-hmm. And consistency builds the confidence because here's the thing: what happens? We get our mind, our nervous system used to accomplishing something. When you accomplish something, it feels good.
All the
Like you have that,
time.
like you have that feeling on the inside. Like, oh, and here's what happens: your perception changes to where what I tried to accomplish before wasn't as bad.
Right.
Listen. When I was
Go
younger,
ahead.
when I was in my teenage years, the first time trying to talk to a girl was nerve
Of
wracking. It was nerve
course.
wracking. But then after a couple of times of doing it, you're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And when you start to have success, you're like, oh, this is the methodology I need to use to get a girl's phone
Right.
number.
And when you have failures, okay, this is what I did wrong. Let me
Mm.
let me not approach her. You know, if it's one of me, maybe I don't approach her when it's, her and all her girls. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe I don't do that. Maybe I make sure, my hair is combed. Maybe I make sure, maybe I make sure that I'm feeling good about this interaction before I go out there and put myself in a vulnerable space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pitfall number 3, not acknowledging your small
Hmm.
accomplishments.
Yeah. We do that a
Now,
lot. We
why
do
do you
that
think
a
it's so
lot
hard for us to not acknowledge the small things?
because it's never enough. It's I mean, let's be honest, right? We can have 20 some people on here and be like, man, you know what? It'd been great if we had 45 people.
Mm-hmm.
But dang, so now you're gonna disqualify, the term disqualify the positive. So all the 25 people or 50, so they don't count? No. Even if it was one person on here, that matters. But in our minds, it's never enough. But when you can acknowledge those accomplishments, the small, just making it here on time, yo, like seriously, we live in a busy world. But when you can do that, celebrate all of your small accomplishments, it makes you feel better about yourself. Because in reality, these aren't things that we're making up. You had to plan for this live, you had to make the flyer, you had to reach out to me. Like there was a lot that went into just being here. It ain't like we just said, hey, bro, you free? No, we had to prepare for this. And we got to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate all of that. So at the end of it, we like, you know what, man, this was dope. We did what we said we were going to do.
Mm-hmm. And it's a process. It's a
Yes.
process. And I think a lot of people lack confidence in their self to follow through. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to acknowledge when you do those little steps. Me reaching out to you was a big thing.
Yep.
Getting you to say, yes, I can do it. What day? Yes, okay. Now we get the day that we're going to do it. Boom. It all builds on itself. We always talk about in relationships making emotional deposits in our partner, but we
Mm-hmm.
need to start making some deposits in ourselves to build our confidence.
It,
We have to be able to put little pieces, put change into that piggy bank so it can be full eventually. But if we only wait till we have dollar bills,
right.
if we only wait till we got that 20 or that 50 to start putting in there, then we're going to be depleted. It's going to take much longer for our confidence to build because we're not putting anything in the tank.
We're gonna be always waiting to get a little bit more. But this is like I like that analogy about like saving money, because when you save it, you build compound interest, right? It don't matter if you put in
Mm,
1%. When you first start putting into your 401k, nobody's putting in 25-30% off the bat. You put in 1%, 2%. You barely even notice it. And next thing you know, over 10 years, you're like, dang, I gotta, all this money off of just this much. But that's what
mm-hmm.
happens when you become consistent. You don't think about the outcome. You focus on staying in the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. That compound interest, and you can't do it off of $0.00.
No,
Something
no.
got to be in there to start the process,
Hmm.
and sometimes those few contributions leads to the compound interest.
And
So when I think, were you about to say something?
I was gonna put the spin on it for relationships too, because
Mm-hmm.
that's when you are in a relationship and you continue to put in those deposits, you're not thinking about how much you putting in. You just keep putting it in. When that other person, maybe they don't have it to put in, but now you've been consistently pouring into the relationship even when you didn't feel like it. So now they can lean on you, or y'all can lean on each other because y'all are committed to the process, and that
Mm-hmm.
helps the relationship be strong. Go ahead, bro.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about this for a
Mm-hmm.
moment. When we talk about confidence, I think it has a negative twin called negative self-talk.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Negative self-talk. And it's hard to get away from negative self-talk because it occurs up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's ever with you. At least if it's somebody who's external, like a friend or a coworker that's being negative, at least we can distance ourselves from them. At least we can move somewhere else and not be in their immediate proximity. But when it comes to negative self-talk, that's up here.
Yeah.
Why is it so detrimental to us to have negative self-talk, and what are some things we could do to remedy that?
Because we're always listening to ourselves. So we gotta guard those messages. We gotta guard those tight. So again, if it's a negative friend, you can say, all right, I don't want to hang with dog today because I know he brings me down and I don't have it. But if you're the person who's saying the negative things to yourself,
Mm.
you take yourself everywhere you go. So you can't just switch up from this person or let me shut the world off because you're still going to be simmering in your own thoughts. So it's critical that we can one just identify what conversations are we having with ourselves. Let's
Mm.
let's not ignore if you have negative thoughts and negative self-talk. Let's not try to downplay it, minimize it. Let's actually address it. That's the first thing. We have to be very real if we're trying to increase our confidence and say, yeah, this is how I think sometimes, and I know now what I need to do about it. But you have to identify it first before you can start to challenge it.
Ooh, 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 that's good. Let's talk about that. Challenging thoughts. One of the things that professors always taught
Mm-hmm.
me was help your clients realize that they have to think about their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They have to think about what it is my brain is saying to me. And that can feel unnatural because, the stigma is, oh, if you're talking to yourself, then you crazy. But it's actually
Right, right.
a healthy thing to have internal dialogue, to reason through situations, to evaluate risk and reward.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural thing, but it becomes detrimental to us when we are not aware that we're thinking negative thoughts. And then that negative narrative now becomes the story of our life without
Mm-hmm.
even realizing it. And here's the thing, and it's so sad. We actually become co-authors of this negative story. We
Yep.
we
We're
help it
we're
along.
pushing it out.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I like to do as much as I love talking about our thoughts, I like to, if I'm doing virtual, I'll put up the screen so we start looking at it. If I'm in person, we'll use the whiteboard. So now they can see what they're thinking. Because what happens is we get used to talking about it, just only talking through it, and it becomes like we're ruminating or we
Mm-hmm.
start to talk in circles. But when people can see what they're saying, I asked somebody today, what evidence do you have for this thought you having? He said, I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any evidence. That's just how I feel. So when he saw it, I don't have any evidence. He was like, zero evidence. And that's what happens. We'll run with something with zero evidence, and then we'll let the feeling overpower our thoughts. So now
Ooh. Ooh.
so now you live in a life you operating off of all emotion and no logic. I'm not saying you need a balance, right? But you cannot have all emotion and zero logic. That's gonna be a problem.
And this may hurt someone's feelings, but feelings aren't facts.
Not at all.
Feelings aren't facts. But guess what? You are entitled to feel the way you do. I can't validate how you
Mm-hmm.
feel, but the evidence isn't there, like you said. So I can't support that part
Right.
of the thoughts you're having. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the evidence, taking it outside of your head, because in our head we're going so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Put it down. That's why journaling works so well. Like, people try to not journaling, but journaling actually gets the thought that's in your head onto paper so you can objectively evaluate it. You can
Yeah.
objectively evaluate what your thoughts are when it's outside of you. And when it's outside of you, now you can look at it. And guess what you can even do? If you have a community and support around you, you can say, hey, I think this of myself. Is it true?
Right.
And
Right.
they can tell you yay or nay. They can say, yes, I have seen you do this, but I can
Hmm.
support you getting around that, or no, that is completely false. In fact, this is the case.
And that's why the self awareness comes into place, because if somebody says, yeah, that's kind of how you what you do, you can say, all right, let me right, let me address it. Let me not be mad at you and say I'm a ghost you. Let me actually address it.
Mm-hmm. Negative self talk is what I feel ruining a lot of people's chances of having healthy
Big,
relationships. The
big
voice
time.
that they may be hearing tells you something, which makes you respond to a potential partners, your spouse, in a particular way. No one's
Hmm.
immune to it. Like it almost can be an intrusive thought if you allow it to happen enough. It can be
And
automatic at times.
right, because the automatic negative thoughts, and
Right.
then if we think about it like that for so long, now it becomes a core belief. It becomes who we are, how we show up.
Hmm. And so we have to put a system. I'm big on systems. Put a system in place to challenge those
Hmm.
negative thoughts when they occur. Have a clear written down system on how you want to address these thoughts because like we said, if it's automatic it's going to happen, but what do you do after?
Right.
There are going to be times where you're going to be driving down the street and your tire's going to burst. We can't control it. So what do? Do we just sit there and look at the tire and be like, "Oh man, it sucks to have a flat tire. Woe is me." Or are you going to look to get the spare? Or are you going to call AAA? What are you going to do next?
Yeah.
That's where healing comes in. That's
Hmm.
where um, the self awareness builds confidence that allows you to take action. But you can't do that if you're stuck in that circle and cycle.
Yeah. I see. Shay, I like what you said. I have family and friends survey from time to time. That also contributes a part for me to stay on track, being positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it. So, Jason, do you see any other pitfalls that people may fall into as they're trying to build their confidence that we didn't discuss?
A big one is perfectionism.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
perfectionism. Because when we think that I have to do it this way, it's got to be just right. You leave no room for error, and the problem with that is that you're human. If I
Mm-hmm.
make a mistake, if I misspeak, I can't beat myself up about that over and over and over, because again, now my anxiety level is going to go up. I'm gonna start overthinking, and I may avoid whatever it is that I was not perfect on. So
Mm-hmm.
we can identify that perfectionism is not real, is not something that we should aspire for, we have more chances of being confident. I don't know if you saw that clip of Jordan where he talked about a shot. He was talking about, I think, how to help kids manage their confidence. He said either you take the shot, you're gonna make it, or you're gonna miss it. That's it. There's only two options. You either make it or miss it, and then you practice it for the next time. But
Mm.
he knows he's not gonna make every shot. If you shoot 50% in the league, that's a good number. That's only half the time you're making it, but that's a great percentage.
But Jason,
Go
not
ahead.
not getting it right hurts. It stings. Listen, I've been on this dating. If I've been out on the dating scene and I've had 15 failed, terrible dates, then I need to get something right. I'm gonna start to question myself. I'm looking for that right one, but I keep having these setbacks. How do I address that pain of okay? Let's say I don't do perfectionism, but I keep getting it wrong consistently, and it's hurting my confidence. It stings. How do we address that
It
pain?
and it will hurt your confidence. But I want to ask you, what are you learning from these losses? If you go out on 15 dates, what are you learning? Where's the insight? Is it the person you're choosing? Is it the restaurant you're taking them to? Is it your gear? I mean, I'm just because this is the thing. We've been there. Y'all, anybody else? been there before where you had a date and it didn't go well, I would encourage you not to stop dating after that, because
Mm-hmm.
when you enjoy the process, it's not about just the outcome. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you're only fixated on the outcome, the soon as the hurt comes in, you will stop, or you will say, you know what, man, forget these apps. You know,
Mm.
let me stay home.
No, that's key. Not getting so focused, fixated that it has to be 100% right in order for things to go well.
Hmm.
People kill their own confidence when it comes to relationships and dating, thinking that they can find perfect. Think
Confidence is attractive.
it is. It is. And guess what? Here's what I
Hmm.
found. Confident people recognize that even in this engagement, going after that goal, there's going to be risk associated. But because I believe in myself, I know I can pick myself up if I
Right.
fall. That's confidence. That's listen, that's it. When I know that even if I don't hit the mark, that I can get back up and make that shot again. I can ask someone else for their
Yeah.
number. I can get out there and try to make a connection with somebody again. Knowing that, having that confidence changes your walk. It
Yeah.
changes how you operate.
All
And
day.
I would even say it improves your chances of finding what it is because guess what? Your enthusiasm hasn't gone down.
Yeah.
You have a little more oomph when you're going out there.
Let's just ask the people. Do y'all like dating people who are not confident?
Right.
Seriously, would you? Because it's attractive. People love when you have, like, when you're confident, you have higher energy. You enjoy being around you. So now
Mm-hmm.
when you around them, they're like, okay, bet I like being around you because you like being around you. You're not
Right.
looking for me to give you an experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Queen of
So at
Cascade said, I just cut off one yesterday. See?
uh-huh. I just cut off. Listen, it be like that sometimes. But you
Yeah.
know, guess what? There'll be another one that comes around, and when that person comes, you can be ready and you can walk confidently, knowing that I can get it right.
She said,
Well,
he asked
he
me,
asked.
am I always this happy?
Oh my goodness, come on. That's gonna be another topic.
Yeah.
That's gonna be another topic. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Jason, thank you for joining us this week. We talked about different ways that we can avoid some of the pitfalls to building confidence. So please let everybody know again where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and anything you have going on.
Yeah, man. First, bro, thank you for having me. I
Oh,
was
no
excited
problem.
about this one. As far as people can follow me here, right here on Instagram, it's the same on LinkedIn, J Phillips, MSW, all of the platforms. If they want to connect with me or work with me, visit my website, jasonlphillips.com. I'm gonna put it in the chat. And
The confidence
definitely,
expert.
yeah, tap into the podcast too, Peace and Prosperity Podcast. Yeah, man, I appreciate you.
Oh, no
I'm gonna put the
problem at
podcast.
all. Did it show
Yeah,
up? I'm gonna be able to.
this uh, you know, confidence, man. It's like you got to have fun with it. You can't take
Mm-hmm.
yourself too seriously. I've been there where I taking myself way too seriously, and it's not fun. Nobody wants to be around that type of energy.
Right, right. So we're gonna have to do this again, like real talk.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do this again because I still got some more stuff in my mind, but let's pause there and let's do a part two in the future. So
All
I
right,
hope
bro.
every all right. I hope y'all have a good evening, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.